Hey there, Retro Games fans, this is Andy C from Pieces of 8-Bit. Wow, that video there at the start, that advert for the original Xbox is somewhat disturbing. And in fact, actually, that was banned when it came out in the UK. So that was the UK Xbox advert. But it has gone down in history somewhat as being incredibly controversial and, yeah, quite disturbing as adverts go. So yes, anyway, welcome to this week's video. This week I am going to be doing this is my A Month With series, and this month has been the Xbox, the original Xbox. So here it is, and you have to make that noise when you pick it up because it's really heavy. It is possibly one of the heaviest consoles, if not the heaviest console. Yeah, this month I'm going to be talking to you about what it's been like to live with the original Xbox in my living room for the last 4 weeks. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what I've been playing. I'll talk to you a little bit about the history of the machine itself as well. And I will also be talking to you about things like the specs and those kind of things, and whether it's even worth going out and finding yourself a console or going out and finding an emulator and having a good play. We'll be talking about all of those coming up in this video. So strap yourselves in, which seems apt based on the advert that we've just seen. Yeah, let's get stuck in. So first up, I'm going to talk about a little bit about the history of the Xbox and a little bit about the specs of the machine itself. So I'll see you on the other side. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the history first, and then I'll tell you a little bit about the specifications. So the original Xbox came out in 2001 in the US, and it came out in Europe and Australia in 2002. And it really was Microsoft's attempt to get into the gaming market. They already had a few games, they already had game studios, some games, notable games that I remember certainly from the 1990s, things like Age of Empires and stuff like that on the PC were really cool games. And so Bill Gates, who was chief executive at the time, decided really that he felt that the PlayStation 2 was going to be a real threat to PC games, PC platforms, in fact, the Windows PC platform. And so he decided that he wanted to get in on the action, really. And it wasn't the first time that Microsoft had been seen on a console. So the Dreamcast from technically the same generation, but the ill-fated Dreamcast, which came out a couple of years before, did have Windows CE on it. So you'll notice if you've got a Dreamcast, when you power it up, it says powered by Windows. And that was also the first online console, although it was pretty rudimentary, really, the setup for online on the Dreamcast, but it worked nonetheless. It was certainly the first. And so Microsoft wanted to get in on that action. Now, Sony had up to this point, and continued through to the PS3 as well, generally designed their own bespoke hardware. And the PlayStation was pretty much its own thing, and that had been generally the norm throughout a lot of the console history. That console manufacturers typically generally built the things from the ground up. They used the occasional components. You saw ATI feature in the GameCube, for instance. But Microsoft wanted a kind of, I guess they were after a kind of quick way into the market. So they had their DirectX team that was specifically sort of focused around games development in Windows, or the capability, creating the capability within Windows to do games, to deliver games, and basically sent them off and said, go build me a console. And this is it. This is the console that they built, the humble original Xbox, or the Xbox OG as many people will call it. It wasn't the most fabulous of first generations. It did outsell the GameCube, and it did outsell the, as I mentioned before, the ill-fated Dreamcast. So that was a pretty big achievement for Microsoft, who were new on the scene, and you going up against the old titans of Sega and Nintendo. So to outsell them was great, but in terms of the PlayStation 2, which is obviously the most sold console of all time, 160 million, I think, it was just a footnote. I think we're in the, I think it's around 10 million units sold. So it wasn't a huge success, but Microsoft persisted, and we know obviously we got the Xbox 360, which very, very nearly outsold the PlayStation, and then we've had the Xbox One and the Xbox Series subsequently that have sold respectively. I think they never managed to outsell the PlayStation, but they sell respectively, and they're good. They are good platforms. So that's a little bit of the history of the console itself. So what about the actual specs of it? Well, famously, the original Xbox was more powerful than the PlayStation 2 on paper. Xbox fans love to tell you about it as well. They love to tell you that it was more powerful than the PlayStation 2. And actually, to be honest with you, playing games on this now compared to playing games on the PlayStation 2, you can see that it is a little bit more of a capable box. It feels like PC gaming in some ways. You know, the look and feel of the games feels like PC games from 2001. And that's no surprise. And the reason why that's no surprise is this thing here is a little PC. It is essentially a little PC. It's running a variant of Windows 2000, a Windows NT based system. It's got an Intel Pentium 3 in it, a 733 megahertz Intel Pentium 3. It was supposed to have been AMD, so Microsoft were working with AMD right up to the almost launch, and then they jumped ship over to Intel. It's got a GeForce 3 in it, which is running at 233 megahertz, 64 megabytes of DDR RAM, which doesn't sound like a lot now, it's because it's not. They also came with a hard drive built in as standard, which is something the PlayStation 2 certainly didn't have, and network capabilities as well, also built in as standard. And on the PlayStation 2, you kind of had to buy an adapter for either one of those things for the slot in the back. And at the time, it was all about polygons. Everyone was talking about polygons and the ability to be able to draw lots of little triangles. And so this was able to draw 29 million 32 pixel triangles every second. So it was a very capable machine in its day. It was, you know, like as PCs go, this would have been a pretty capable PC. So those are the specs on paper. It's kind of difficult to compare with the PlayStation 2 because the PlayStation 2 had bespoke architecture, and it prioritized things like you know, the ability to be able to move data around very, very quickly. On the Emotion, it had the Emotion engine in it, which was the Emotion chip, which was a really, really cool bit of technology at the time. And so on paper, if you compared like for like specs, the Xbox would definitely come out above, and probably in reality, like I said earlier, it kind of was, but actually the differences weren't as significant as what you might think. There's only really a couple of years, well, not even a couple of years, probably about 18 months between the two of them. And Microsoft were working on this already before the PlayStation 2 came out. So they started work on the Xbox back in 1998. So there we go. You also had, in terms of the actual unit itself, so this weighs a whopping 4 kilograms. So it is not a light piece of kit. It is pretty heavy. And it came with initially what's called the Duke controller, which is this absolute monster. And this was somewhat of a joke to anybody who wasn't an Xbox fan. Everybody thought this controller was ridiculous. Now, one thing I would say is that yes, it is absolutely enormous. You had these sort of expansion slots on the top here as well, so you could make it even more enormous. But it's actually a surprisingly comfortable controller to hold. You'd be surprised. It's actually not bad at all. It's quite ergonomic. But this was called, yeah, as I mentioned, this was called the Duke, and it was somewhat of a joke. But Microsoft later released the Series S, Controller S, which was a smaller version of this, which was much more sort of ergonomic, and that came bundled with the Xbox once that was released. So, but I actually don't mind this, and I think the only trouble with this really is that if you think about it, it's not going to be great for smaller hands. So if you've got kids that are playing on this, you know, they're going to struggle to wrap their hands around this. It is absolutely huge, but it's a pretty standard controller layout. So you've got the shifted sticks there, and you've got your D-pad over here, and then you actually get 6 buttons on here as well, which is kind of cool. Yeah, only use these in. I think I use these in Fable. That's about all I've used them for. So I don't think it's a bad controller. I mean, I think the new one is better. I don't have a new one. But in Microsoft's defense as well, when you look at something like the N64 controller in the previous generation, or even the Dreamcast controller, which is really kind of love-hate. Some people love that controller. I quite like it. A lot of people really didn't like it. So controller was a little bit of a joke to start with, and that certainly probably hampered it from out of the gate. But yeah, that's the Xbox. Those are the specs. So as I always say in all of these A Month With episodes, then it's the games really that make the console. And without the right games, doesn't matter how good your console is, it won't be much good if the games aren't any good. So let's have a quick chat about the games, and I'll tell you what I've been playing and how I've been getting along with it. So yes, as I say, the games make the console. So what have I been playing? Well, I've played quite a bit this month, and bearing in mind it's only been a month, I haven't had a lot of time to play all of my back catalogue of Xbox games. I don't own loads. I haven't got loads and loads of Xbox games, but I've got quite a few. But I've picked on a few of my favourites, and I'll just quickly talk you through what I've been playing. So if you watched my video last week, you will have seen that I've been playing Blinks the Time Sweeper. This is a really fun little game, and obviously, as I mentioned in my video, this was all about Microsoft's sort of, I think, attempt at having a kind of cutesy mascot for the platform. Didn't really work out. Game got middling reviews. I think it's a little unfair, actually. I think this is quite a good little game. Very much in the sort of the era, very much that style of game from that sort of era. Played a bit of Time Splitters 2, which is obviously a cross-platform game. I don't know if I actually own this on the PlayStation 2. I must do. I used to own it on the PlayStation 2, and in fact, that's where I played it. Absolutely love Time Splitters 2. One of my first experiences of playing first-person shooters online. Yeah, I got my backside kicked, and but nevertheless, absolutely fantastic game. Played through that again quite recently, just a couple of levels. Still really enjoyed it. My kids looked a bit bemused at the graphics on it, but I think actually it's quite nice. It's quite sort of stylized, and yeah, very much an iconic title of that era. Playing on Xbox, you've got to have some racing games. I still maintain that the Xbox platforms, I still maintain, I don't know if I ever maintained it, but I would say that I think the Xbox is great. If you're into racing games, there are so many choices on all of the Xbox consoles. The modern Forzas are fantastic. Yeah, I've been playing some classics as well. So Project Gotham Racing 1 and 2. I've also got 3 as well. I think that's on the 360. But both really good racing games. It's a shame that series didn't last. They're great arcade racing games, really good fun. And you'd have seen me play through Project Gotham Racing if you watched my video when I first picked up the Xbox, when I did my sort of initial review of Xbox for a PlayStation fanboy video. That must be months ago now. But yeah, played through these two. Really great games. They look fantastic. Yeah, really good fun. So those Project Gotham. Also Forza Motorsport, which was Microsoft's real competitor to Gran Turismo. Now, I would say that I just don't think Gran Turismo can be bested in terms of racing simulation, but Forza Motorsport is good, and the current Forza Motorsports are also still really good. They're very similar in many ways to Gran Turismo in terms of the styling and the attention to detail and how you handle the cars and that kind of thing. But still really good. Not as good as Gran Turismo. I'm going to say that I'm biased, but I love the Gran Turismo series. But I think Forza Motorsport, a really good entry into that sort of racing simulation idea. And obviously later on we had the Horizon games, which are much more sort of arcade focused. Also really great games as well. Now, what a classic. This is Outrun 2. I've been playing this loads. I got absolutely hooked on this. And so this is probably the game that I'm going to miss the most into next month, putting the Xbox away. I love Outrun 2. It's such good fun to play. It's quite challenging in parts, but it is absolutely got all of that spirit of the original Outrun, but the graphics are so much better, and there's so much more that you can do with the game. So really love Outrun 2. Obviously, again, another cross-platformer. Used to play this on the PlayStation 2. Also used to play Coast to Coast as well, which I also really enjoyed. And Sega, if you're watching, which I'm sure you're not, please go and do some more Outruns. Why did you ditch this franchise? Why are we only getting Blue Hedgehog games? Please go do another Outrun. This is such a fabulous game. So, yes, love Outrun 2. And then what else? Well, obviously, no Xbox experience would be complete without a bit of a blast on Halo. So I've been playing a little bit of Halo. Needs no introduction. Great first-person shooter, and obviously continues. That franchise has been continuing for well over 20 years now. And then I played a couple of fantasy games as well. So we've got Fable, which I mentioned earlier. which is a really cool game. Really enjoyable game. There's been a few of these. Really enjoyed Fable on the Xbox. It's 9.4 out of 10 from official Xbox magazine. So yeah, a really cool game. And then Morrowind, obviously part of the Elder Scrolls series, which came before Oblivion. Never played Morrowind, so I was a huge. I got into Elder Scrolls at Oblivion. Played Oblivion. Played. Oh my goodness me! I can't even remember the name of the game. It's completely gone out of my head. You're all going to be shouting at me now. I'll remember later. It's just going to suddenly dawn on me. Yes, but I played Morrowind. It's all right. It's not too bad. It looks a bit dated now, but I played it for a little bit. Very open, like an Elder Scrolls game should be. So yes, enjoyed that. That was good. So what did I think of the games? Well, yeah, good. I mean, you know, I think by the time you get to this sort of generation of console, you know, I think you're into the realms of, you know, like there's a lot of cross-platform games. They generally look the same, give or take a few extra graphics on the PlayStations, you know, versus if you had them on the GameCube or on the Xbox, they all look very similar, bar a few little details here and there. So the cross-platform games, Outrun 2, Morrowind, Time Splitters 2, those games all looked and felt pretty much the same as playing them on the PlayStation. So probably not really fair to judge the console on that. In terms of the exclusive titles, so your Project Gothams, your Forzas, Blinks, Halo, those games, all absolutely brilliant. Actually, I really enjoyed all of them. You know, I would say Blinks was not as good as some of its contemporaries, as I said in my video before, but a good entry. Forza's a really nice racer. Project Gotham's a great arcade racer, really good fun. And then obviously Halo, everybody knows about Halo. Yeah, it's just a, you know, really straightforward sort of first-person shooter that follows in the footsteps of the likes of Doom and Quake that came before it, years before it. So yeah, the game's great. I mean, I've got loads of other games I would have liked to have played and had a bit more time doing it, but there are, you know, there's a good back catalogue of games on the Xbox. So yes, definitely worth a look from that point of view. So let's move on now. Let's talk a little bit about how you can get yourself into Xbox gaming and get yourself started with some of these fantastic titles. Skyrim. That was the one. Elder Scrolls Skyrim. How could I forget Skyrim? I put so much of my life into that game. That was the game that I was forgetting for some random reason. Skyrim. So I played a lot of Oblivion, played a lot of Skyrim, never played Morrowind or Daggerfall or any of those games that came before it. But yes, anyway, I digress. Let's talk a little bit about how you can get yourself into Xbox gaming. Hopefully you like the sound of all of those games and you fancy giving them a go. Now, obviously, as I mentioned before, the first option that you have potentially is to go get, if you've got a PlayStation 2, a lot of those are multi-platform titles. So if there's specific titles in there that you're interested in and you own a PlayStation 2, obviously, and this is a really obvious thing and you'll have thought about this no doubt already, you can go and find them on the PlayStation. So that's the first thing. But if you fancy playing Blinks or you fancy playing Halo or Project Gotham Racing or anything else for that matter that was exclusive to the I nearly said it, exclusive to the Xbox, then what are the ways of getting into Xbox gaming? Now, in every single one of these videos, I talk about emulation. And I did a video a couple of weeks ago, which I will pop the link in for. And that is for the Zemu or XEMU emulator. So you can go and have a look at that and get that running. Now, with these newer consoles, you will need a reasonably pokey bit of kit to get them to run. They can be a bit sluggish on older machines. But that's going to be your first bet. I would think, you know, go and check out XEMU, Zemu, and you can, if you've got the games, if you don't have the console, then you know you can go and find, that Zemu setup and get your games working on there. And there are places which obviously I can't link to you out on the web where you can download those ROMs, so you don't have to try and rip them off the disc. So that's your first option. Your second option is obviously to go and buy yourself an Xbox. Now, I did this last year. I bought an Xbox. I bought it on eBay. I didn't pay a lot for it, actually. I paid about, I think, how much did I pay for it? I think it might have only been 60, 70 pounds, and it came with a load of discs as well, a load of games, couple in cases, and then the rest of them actually just in a CD pouch, which is fine. You know, I don't mind that. And it came, and you know, when you're obviously buying anything from eBay, just check that there's some pictures or screenshots of it working. Check if it's got a return policy as well. You can obviously go to the fairs and pick them up, and if you know the traders there, that's a great way of picking up an Xbox. Don't tend to see the original Xbox all that often when I go up to fairs actually, or to markets. You will find them in places like CEX in the UK, and obviously there you'll get the warranty as well, which is an important thing to bear in mind. When you're picking up an original Xbox, worth just checking if it's been recapped. It does have a notorious problem with the capacitor that looks after the clock in the machine. So that can just go, and obviously that can cause a bit of damage if that leaks. And also you might want to consider looking at replacing the hard drive. They are incredibly difficult to find now, and there are tips and tricks out there on how to get yourself a different sort of hard drive and get those connected up, but I haven't ventured into that yet. Maybe that'll be a how-to video in the future, but yeah, at the moment I don't actually, so I'm just giving you this advice. I haven't followed my own advice. I don't know what the history of this box is, so I don't know if that capacitor is still a problem or not. So that is something that I am going to need to look at some point in the probably not too distant future, especially as it goes back on the shelf. So if you're buying an original Xbox, they aren't that expensive if you can find a good working one. Yeah, quite often they'll come with a bundle of games as well. So what I would definitely suggest, if you want to do that, find somewhere that's got a good warranty. So as I mentioned, I don't want to be on here marketing for CEX, but obviously they offer their, I think it's 5-year warranty for their old kit. So they've got a repair service that then they'll replace it if it's a problem. So that's one other option. And those probably are your main options, to be honest. The only other thing that you can look at, and you'll notice in the background here that I've got an Xbox One S, and this Xbox One S is currently running, as you probably saw earlier, Time Splitters 2. There is a list of Xbox games that are compatible with the One. The same exists for the 360, I think. And obviously a lot of the compatibility with the Series S and X is the same sort of backward compatibility as the One. So there are a lot of games you can, if you've got the discs for, that will work on here. Not as many as you might think. I think backward compatibility with the 360 is better. But there are games you can play. So that is actually running the original Time Splitters 2 disc that I showed you earlier. And the other option, obviously, if you've got a Series S or X, or you've got an Xbox One, is you can also go online in Game Pass, and obviously in the store as well. There are quite a lot of original Xbox games that you can find in there as well. And if you're running Windows, you will also find some Xbox games potentially in the store there as well. So there are places to find them. The list isn't really long. I don't think that there aren't loads of original Xbox games out there digitally that you can get hold of, but there are a few. There are a few classics in there, so go check them out. A lot of the time with games, so something like Outrun, you won't typically find it because there's the licensing on the music and things like that. You know, they just find it's just easier just to pull the game. So you might struggle to find some of the titles that I talked to you about today. So yeah, those are your options for getting into Xbox gaming. Definitely go check out the emulator if you want the kind of you want to just go and pick some games up and you just want to have a play, and you don't want to have to worry about console, and you don't have to want to worry about picking up a brand new Xbox or whether that game's available or not. So that's your other option as well. But yeah, hopefully that was useful. I will be doing a video in the not too distant future on how to get consoles like the Xbox hooked up to your modern television. So just for full disclosure, I use something called an OSSC, which is a little bit of hardware. It cost about £120 there or thereabouts, and it allows you to connect SCART, composite component devices, and then it's got an HDMI out that connects to your television. They're pretty good boxes. There are lots of options out there for doing that as well. The nice thing about the Xbox is it outputs component, same as PlayStation 2. which means that you get a pretty good signal. If you can find something, if you can find a converter, analog to digital converter and use component, you get a pretty good result with that when you plug that into a television. But I will talk more about that in the next couple of weeks on how best to go about it. So that's it for getting started with Xbox. So I'm just going to wrap up now and just talk to you a little bit about what it's been like to live with, and have I enjoyed it, and should you go do the same? Okay, so one thing I have just realised actually is playing the Xbox, and my on-air light behind me seems more green than usual, and I wonder if that's just like in sort of keeping with the whole Xbox theme. I should have just changed my light over here to just be showing green as well, maybe. Anyway, so what's it been like? What's it been like this last month living with the Xbox? Well, I have actually really enjoyed it. I probably didn't enjoy it as much as I did with the Master System. That was amazing. I loved the month with the Master System, and you know, I think probably when it comes to the PlayStation 2, it might be 2 months with, because I am a huge PlayStation 2 fan. That was really one of the first consoles that I significantly invested in. I think probably way back when. So. The Xbox though is brilliant. I think it's a great entry. I think it had a rough ride when it started. I think people dismissed it right away, and I was one of those people. I think it's a much better console than people give it credit for. It didn't have quite the library that the PlayStation 2 had. It didn't have the head of steam and the fan base that Sony had by the time they got to the PlayStation 2. But like I said earlier, it outsold the GameCube, which is really surprising. In terms of, you know, like Nintendo, just it's like a given for them that they're going to sell loads of consoles, but it outsold the GameCube, and it outsold the Dreamcast as well. And in fact, actually, I mean, by this point, obviously, by the time Xbox had come out, Sega were pretty much done. And in many ways, some people actually say that the Xbox is a bit of a spiritual success to the Dreamcast in one way or another. I'm not sure I necessarily agree with that, but I definitely see where they're coming from. So yeah, I have really enjoyed it. The games on it are really good, and I think I enjoy it because the nature of the games of that era are also really good as well. I enjoy that era of gaming. The early 2000s really was quite a transformational time in terms of gaming. We'd seen the PlayStation 1 come out in the mid-90s, which really changed the landscape and the audience of gaming. The PlayStation 2 took that to the next level, and the Xbox was there, you know, in the mix as one of the consoles that really was quite sort of more grown up, yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I think it's definitely worth a revisit. Yeah, go check it out. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised, especially if you're a PlayStation gamer. I think if you're a Sony fanboy like myself, you know, self-confessed Sony fanboy, I think, you know, I said I'd never buy an Xbox, and you know, I've got an Xbox, I've got a 360, I've got the One, and I've got the Series X in the living room, and I like all of them. I think they're great consoles. I think the Series X is brilliant. I think the controllers are a point of contention for a lot of people. I think some people prefer, you know, your PlayStation controllers. You know, there's the PS4 controller there. You know, compared to the sort of Xbox controllers. So that's the sort of same generation of controller. I actually really like these controllers, and they're pretty much the same on the Series X as well. You know, I think that's one thing that people will nitpick and argue over. At the end of the day, I think all the controllers are pretty decent. Even the Duke, even the absolute monster that is the Duke that we all laughed at 25 years ago. Yeah, I like it. And as a PlayStation fanboy, I'm going to stand behind that comment, and I don't care if I get hate for it. I think it's a great console. So, yeah, if you haven't owned one before, go check it out. If you played on one before and you haven't played on one for a while, definitely go check it out. So yeah, so hopefully you found that useful. Coming up on the channel, a few things happening. So I obviously mentioned about doing a bit of a how-to on getting your consoles hooked up to your modern television. So that'll be coming up soon. I've also got the Oxford gaming market coming up. So I haven't decided yet, but I might do a short video on that. That's coming up weekend after next. So as you're watching this, I think it's around the 12th of April. So I'm going to be going over to that. Looking forward to going there. I have no money to spend now because I'm going on holiday shortly afterwards. But I am looking forward to that. It was a really good event last year, so I might just do a short video for that, just to kind of talk a little bit about what I've picked up and what the event was like. They're all quite similar, so I won't do a long one. I've got the Racing Challenge, which this month is San Francisco Rush Extreme Racing, which I mentioned last week. So I've got that to do. And finally, we will be bringing a new console into the living room. I've sort of alluded to what this console might be before. So drum roll, please. The console for next month is, also the console for this month now, because we're already into April, is this bad boy, the Sega Game Gear. This is a console that really has divided the crowd. Some people absolutely love it, and some people absolutely hate it and think it's rubbish. So this was Sega's answer to the Game Boy around the same era. It wasn't much later that this came out after the Game Boy, but it comes with a full color screen, and it eats batteries like they've gone out of fashion. That is ludicrous consumption of batteries. Get about 2 hours gameplay on about 6 batteries, so it is very, very power hungry. So I'm going to be, basically, as I mentioned, I'm going to be traveling, so I'm going to be taking this with me and seeing what it's like to travel with this absolute beast. And it's not really a pocket console, is it? I mean, you're not going to fit that in your pocket, but I'm going to be playing on it, and I will report back on what it's been like to travel with it and to live with it. And I imagine that my wife will be quite pleased about the fact that there's not the big Xbox sitting in the living room now, so it'll just be this that I'm going to be playing on, and I can be playing this at any time of the day. So that will be coming up as well. So obviously I'll be talking a little bit about living with the Game Gear and playing on the Game Gear and all those good things too. So that's it, I think. So that's it for today. So hopefully you found that useful. Hopefully you enjoyed that. I'm just going to wrap up now. So as always, if you enjoy these videos, please do like and subscribe. I am enjoying doing these month with consoles. I'm enjoying doing the month with consoles, and so I will continue to do that until I've run out of consoles, basically, I think. Yeah, we'll see. You know, I've got a few ideas for what I want to do next. I've got plenty of consoles that should keep me going for a while yet. So hopefully enjoy them. And yeah, just leaves me to say, please do all take care of yourselves. I'll see you around. Bye for now.